Chapter 10. Good to the last strip. A week going by without incident would normally have made Dry Rose's nerves settle. A week without a certain person Twilight Sparkle showed up in the darkest hour of the morning desiring coffee and a little sugar was not unprecedented over the last 2 years, although mostly corresponding to periods of time when she was gone with the rest of her friends, off on some sort of world-saving adventure. The group had left Ponyville for a few days in the middle of the Hiatus, but the next twilight did not dawn with the twilight arcing over his shop, which he was a little grateful and possibly just a tiny bit regretful about. That is not to say his mornings were princess-free. Princess Luna had taken to her early morning slummings with a great enthusiasm and even greater skill, seeking out the mystery surrounding each and every piece of equipment in the store, and triumphing over their skillful use as if she were defeating fierce enemies of Equestria. In fact, she was a princess productively pre-collocating perfect product every time. The complicated espresso machine met its match. The mixer, which bucked and complained under his grasp, purred like a moon kitten whenever Luna touched it. And the oven had never produced finer pastries, even though most of what he sold came from somewhere else. That final step from field to customer was something Dry Rose was very proud of. The little balls of frozen dough from Sugar Cube Corner still made perfect morning baked treats long before the store, which had originated them, opened their doors. Golden Harvest's carrots juice was good, but with just the right touches of herbs, spice, and heat, made happy smiles throughout the summer, and mixed with the right amount of hot chocolate in the winter, kept on giving joy. And what could he do with Applejack's apple spice cider was probably criminal. The beans were the best. The official methods of roasting beans for the Starbuckers franchise was one of the steps short of charcoal, followed by 10 days in degassing chamber to release all the carbon dioxide and the poured charred beans. That did not suit Dry Roast at all. He had played with the mixture and composition of coffee beans for nearly 20 hours so far, ever since he got his cutie mark helping his chemist father with the morning coffee. He still did not use timers or thermometers to judge when the beans had reached the perfect stage. It was just a combination of touch and scent and instinct and listening for the sounds of popping the slow, sometimes driving him across the shop in the middle of an order to grab the hot beans out of the roaster with a simple spell to degas them. Then feed the still toasty beans right into the grinder. His ultimate goal was to finish the process just when the bell over the front door rang. So when that customer took her first sip and gave him a smile, it would leave him with a warm sensation under his ribs for hours. It was the one aspect of coffee making that Princess Luna struggled with, although she constantly improved under his close tutelage. This morning, he had everything perking and cooking under Luna's expert supervision before his scheduled departure for the mechanical exposition in Coltana Falls. It left him enough time to prepare a morning coffee for each of his traveling companions, plus enough time for Luna to scramble his thought processes in an unexpected way. "Fare thee well, sweet princess," said Luna once Dry picked up the traveling carrier for the coffees and crumpets. "Your quest to return was a suitable, conical bird grinder for your establishment shall be a success for you. Carry with you the favor of your princess of the night." That was all the warning he got before Luna kissed him. Once his mind slowly cleared, Dry Rose came to the conclusion that Twilight Sparkle had a lot to learn about. That prospective teacher had turned away and was floating a tray of crullers out of the oven, whistling a little happy tune with her tail swishing behind her. Dry Rose took a few deep breaths while the fizzing neurons in his brain finished their lighting storm. But before he could speak, Luna turned and wordlessly pointed to the door. I will never understand mayors. Applejack and Pinkie Pie gave Dry Rose similar perplexed looks while they boarded the train, which was to take them all to the Coltana Falls, although Pinkie Pie shook it off first with a giggle. I'll never understand mayors. Applejack and Pinkie Pie gave Dry Rose similar perplexed looks while they boarded the train, which was to take them all to the Coltana Falls, although Pinkie Pie shook it off first with a giggle.
"So this is about Twilight coming by your shop in the morning to give you hugs and kisses, Dry, because she's been acting awfully strange this week."
"I suppose you're the expert on strange behavior, Pinkie," said Applejack. "I was just thinking, things are getting back to normal for a change." "Luna kissed me," said Dry Rose. He gave a stunned Mares with a brief glance before floating the coffees he had brought over, one cold black with a tiny squirt of apple syrup, and one apple marshmallows maple syrup with a tiny squirt of coffee. Then sat down with a thud on the train bench. "That's not normal. She said earlier how she and Celestia used to each other's romantic interests and how she was looking forward to doing that with Twilight, but... On lips or on the cheek? Asked Applejack, holding her coffee with no indication of drinking until certain more important informational activities were taken care of. Ryan the square lips. And some more. I think I wasn't really straight. I wasn't thinking really straight, said Dry.
Do you think she's trying to make Twilight jealous? Asked Pinkie Pie.
Think? Dry Rose took a sip of his own coffee, flavored with pumpkin spice and maple syrup. I quit thinking over a year ago. That'll be back when Twilight first started locking lips with you at the coffee shop. Applejack pursued her lips in a deep thought that Dry Rose is justifiably afraid of where it might lead. Begging your pardon, Dry, but I never took you for no prince. Dry Rose took another drink and wondered if the bar car would add a little something to his coffee so his hyperactive brain would calm down a little. I think Luna's teasing? Said Dry with as much sincerity as he could muster, which could have been measured with a teaspoon. There's no scandal to worry about because she knows I won't freak out and run to the newspapers, and she's a stinker like Rainbow Dash. Pinkie Pie giggled.
Rainbow Dash and I need to take her out pranking sometime.
Both Dry Rose and Applejack looked at Pinkie, then simulously whooped just a little bit away from her, in case it was contagious. Anyway, continued Dry Rose, Luna's just being silly, and Twilight's just sleepwalking. I really need to get away from it all, and this trip will just be what my mind needed. You two don't want my lips, and you just want me for the rest of my body. In particular, my ability to help pick out your purchase and my muscles to help carry them back to Ponyville. Don't forget your fine sense of taste, said Applejack before finishing her coffee.
Nobody else makes a marshmallow syrup coffee flurry like you,
said Pinkie Pie. She proceeded to bury her nose in her cup and make bubbles before slurping the sugary mess up and swallowing it all in one gulp. Dry Rose chuckled and took a measured sip of his own coffee. Thanks, girls. A whole day without away from Ponyville and no princesses to raise my stress level. The train gave a chuffing cough and began to move. Although there was a distant "wait" coming from the outside, almost drowned out by the noise. Then there was a sharp "pumph" that was not, because it corresponded to the abrupt arrival by teleportation of Ponyville's newest princess and her dragon, both of whom wound up. To his professional credit, Dry Rose managed to save his coffee during the impact, even though Twilight Sparkle was nearly nose to nose with him. Although, to his credit, he did not use profanity in front of the youthful dragon, even when Twilight managed to step on something near and dear to him, while scrambling to hear hooves and moving away. He did roll over onto his belly afterward, because he was not certain if he was bleeding. But if he was, it wasn't serious, and he certainly did not need his battle wounds inspected by a young dragon or a crazy princess.
I'm sorry, Mr. Rose,
babbled Twilight Sparkle, once she had gotten her hooves under her and not on him.
It's just the per-colored, broke.
Again, said Spike.
Again,
admitted Twilight.
Although they shouldn't be that flimsy, and Rich's bargain barn doesn't carry anything tougher, so I thought I could go along with Applejack and Pinkie Pie on their hardware buying trip and save you the price of the tickets, but you're already on the train and it's moving. I wonder if I'd get killed if I jumped off the train at the speed. Mused Dry Rose, a little louder than he had planned. Pinkie giggled and gave Twilight a hug, and then one for Spike. Oh, this is just great! Jerry's just telling us how Princess Luna kissed him before he left, and now you can give him a kiss and we can compare how good kissers each of you are!
Maybe if I try to hit the ground running, said Dry. Applejack pushed her hat back on her head and nodded at where Dry Rose was sprawled out of the floor. Well, he did say Princess Luna was gonna try pooching him away from you, Twi, so maybe you two should practice some kisses a little so you can put up a good fight for your stallion. I could try to land head first, mused Dry. That should snap my neck and keep me from feeling pain. I'm not doing any kissing, protested Twilight Sparkle. She took a long drink from her appropriate foam coffee cup and scowled viciously at Applejack. I have no romantic interests in... Her gaze flickered over the Dry Rose, still sprawled out on the floor with his rump in the air. Him at all. You could have fooled me last week, said Spike. The two of you were pretty locked together by the lips in the kitchen. He lowered his voice to a grumble, even if it was disqualified from the pool.
It was an involuntary reflex. most probably caused by changeling mental influence, protested Twilight. In him, not me. I've scanned my brain on at least 7 times now, and there's nothing there. Dry Rose kept his mouth shut. As he did, the rest of Twilight's friends, although he had the misfortune of snorting just loud enough for her to hear. Even ever so slowly, the Princess of Friendship turned toward him and regarded his position with a scowl. She took another long drink of coffee and snapped. What's so funny? 2 things, said Dry Rose. 1, that the Princess of Friendship and Smiles can be such a... He hesitated with his words, choice due to Spike's nearness. Pain in the flank without her coffee. I've got my coffee. I'm fine, snapped Twilight, taking another drink and finishing it off. What's the second thing? That's my coffee. Or, that was my coffee. There was a certain element of humor in seeing Twilight sparkle with her mouth open, but no words coming out. After a moment, she closed her mouth, regarded the empty foam Java Chaw's coffee container with a certain degree of repressed indignation, and placed it down on the bench with a hollow thunk. No wonder it tasted so bad, she grumbled. Sorry, Your Highness, said Dry, with as much of bow as he could, with wild belly, down the floor of the train car. You could have always brought your own. I wanted to stop by Sugar Cube Corner on our way, but some pony had to check their checklist a 4th time to make sure they hadn't forgotten anything, and forgot to check the departure time of the train, said Spike, sounding a little vindicative. I told you, I was sorry, Spike, said Twilight, not sounding very sorry at all. So what happened to your percolator at the castle, Twi? Applejack scooted a little over on her bench, so Twilight would have space to sit down, which she did. There was a corresponding empty spot beside Pinkie Pie, which Dry Rose had thought about occupying, but decided his present position on the floor was far more defensible. Besides, Spike shot him a glance seeming to ask permission to be seated there, which Dry confirmed with a nod. It broke, said Twilight. Spike cleared his throat. You taught me not to use passive voice and taking the blame for something. Some pony broke it, said Twilight, which was not much of an improvement. There's only one pony living in your castle, Twilight, said Pinkie Pie. Unless you have a dark pony made of shadow like the one at the castle of the Royal Pony Sisters, or you're secretly hiding a little cousin who really isn't your cousin, but a pony made out of dark magic and a blood sample, and brought to life by a bunch of creepy cultists from the Everfree. It wasn't me, snapped Twilight. It just broke. The basket holding the ground snapped off, said Spike. 4 mornings in a row. She tried to fix it, but the sticking spell doesn't work if the things are broken too many times. And then she tried to brew coffee while holding the whole thing together in her magic, and... He mimicked an explosion, and from the way, he was wriggling his fingers fire. It seemed to be a familiar motion for Spike. Dry really wanted to keep quiet, but could not hold it in. Spike, do you load up the percolator the night before, so you all have to do in the morning is push a button? Yeah. The little dragon looked somewhat confused. Is that bad? Suppressing his alchemy training, which could have detailed for several hours just why that was bad. Dry simply nodded. All of the coffee smell gets away. It dries out on the ground and makes the morning coffee not taste quite as good. Apparently also, he added with a sideways glance at Twilight. It could leave a scent trail which leads sleepwalking princesses to graze on the coffee grounds. That's a lie, snapped Twilight, rising to her hooves and glaring down at Dry Rose, as if she wanted to use him as a rug. Any evidence to the contrary is obviously forged by clever photographic techniques, and she trailed off at the looks of the rest of her friends were giving her, scowled again at Dry Rose, then sat down with a grumpy frown. I disproved that theory completely years ago, she added in a low growl. It was just more comfortable for Dry Rose to take a seat at the other end of the train car, particularly after making a trip to the dining car and finding out all they had was instant coffee, the anti-coffee of the coffee world. He settled into his bench with a mystery novel he had read several times already, which did not make it much of a mystery, but still a better option than sitting next to the simmering princess while waiting for the inevitable brew-up. He had just gotten to the point in his book where the hero on the train car was ambushed by the masked killer when Spike tapped him on the shoulder. Thankfully, Twilight had already drank all of his coffee, or it would have gone flying farther than the book did. What? What is this, Spike? Dry Rose smoothed out the book and tried to unwrinkle the pages, so when his brother Raincheck brought it back to the castle library, he would not face the wrath of a frustrated librarian. We're almost there, but Twilight's being Twilight and not wanting to talk to you about shopping for
for a new percolator, so I thought I'd come over and ask for some pointers. The little dragon produced a notebook and a quill, and nodded. Oh, that's pretty smart. Dry Rose ran a hoof through his mane and thought briefly. You know, if I was an evil coffee fiend, I'd help you pick out the worst coffee maker in Equestria, so Princess Twilight Sparkle would be forced to come to my lair. Spike raised an eyebrow ridge. That's not a very evil laugh. You're asking me to help me buy something that'll cut into my sales, countered Dry Rose. You know, said Spike, tapping his quill against the notebook. I don't think Shining Armor knows all the specific details about. You need something sturdy and foolproof, said Dry Rose rather quickly. It's a sealed reservoir for the grounds and one for the water. I don't suppose she has a regular walking time to set the timer. Depends how much she's setting the night before, said Spike with a shrug as he wrote. Or how much coffee she's had in the middle of her study session. He paused. Or I suppose if she's made a late night trip to your store. Said Dry Rose, trying not to sound sullen. One button operation rapid reduction of the product and being able to lock the coffee grounds basket would be a bonus. I'd get her a syrup selection to go with it, mostly chocolate. Get a refill on chocolate syrup. Better get two if Pinkie Pie has access to your kitchen. Don't worry about a foamer, because she dislikes too much foam. Sprinkles, but not the mint kind. Birthday sugar multicolor sprinklets if they have them. Some apple syrup, but just a little, because Applejack pretends not to like anything in her coffee, so just puts part of a squirt in it. And sometimes Twilight wants a little apple flavor in hers too, mostly in the fall. Dry Rose licked his lips, remembering the sweet taste of coffee mixed with taste of chocolate mixed with coffee and apple syrup during a particularly memorial kiss. Fall was nice. After writing a few more quick lines, Spike looked over to his list and asked, how about something for Rarity? You need a whole frappuccino machine for that, Spike, because the white chocolate kind she likes is really difficult to make. He patted the little dragon on the head. Tell you what, I'll let you come by the store sometime, and I'll show you how to work the machine. If you get good enough at it, and you still want one, you can get her your own. But if you just want to use store equipment for special occasions, you'll get a fair, richer taste and better response. Spike licked his lips, and somehow Dry Rose did not think he was considering the taste of a frappuccino. Alright, so basically that was her Royal Morning Coffee. This was chapter 10, and I know I haven't been updating a lot. I forgot to post another comic today, so I figured I might make an animation and double upload, you know what I mean? Sorry for the background noises at this video because my dad's working in the background, so apologies. My voice also was starting a bit because I also was talking a bit too fast. Trying to still work on that, but might actually do a reading of my Warrior Cat book, actually. If you guys want, leave a comment down below if you do want me to read one of my Warrior Cat books, actually. But if you don't, then that's fine. I could just continue with the Royal Morning Coffee if you guys like. Anyways, hope you warriors enjoyed this video. If you liked it, claw that like button and hit subscribe to join the clan today. I hope to see you warriors in my next video. Stay sharp!